All right. I appreciate everybody greatly. We're going to break down something that's very important to everybody. Res, a thing or matter. What a lot of people don't know is you claim to be a resident or some sort like that. But a resident is just something. It's not someone, it's not you. When you look it up, there's no residency act for a state. There's no residency act for a county or a city. The only residency act is out of the District of Columbia. You shouldn't be held arbitrarily and capriciously to operate anywhere and be forced to be a resident if you're not. I'm not an enemy of the state nor trading with the enemy, but we're going to get to the bottom of this. Rock with me, you guys. And we're going to look at this here. A thing or matter. The term res is a Latin word meaning thing or matter. In legal context, it refers to an object, interest, or status that is subject of legal proceeding. For example, in property law, res can denote the property itself, while in maritime law, it can refer to a vessel involved in a legal claim. Additionally, res can be used in phrases like res judicata, a matter already being judged, and the thing speaks for itself, which are important legal doctrines, like the thing speaks for itself. What thing? I would allege the identity that NCVHS created for uses, and sources of revenue. This thing they're talking about, when you guys identify with this, right? It includes individuals who use their birth certificate to establish their identity for various legal and administrative purposes. You're not a legal or administrative purpose. When you pull your IRS wage and income transcripts, it pretty much will always say you're not a statutory employee. These organizations are all under the vital statistics jurisdiction. They say it right on the map. They explain it to you right on the map. Anyone that uses this data. Now, the story of citizen, domiciliary, and resident, right? Prior, the original standing long before the words resident and U.S. person were ever used, men and women in America were known simply as, I would say, native to their nation state, like I'm an Illinoisan, or they'd be a national, or simply citizen of their own state and members of the Union. The Articles of Confederation 1777 and the Constitution 1787 speak only of citizens, never residents. And really, people and persons are two different things. We, the people, are not persons. God respects no persons. A citizen comes from the Latin term civis, one who belongs to a body politic with right, duties, and protections. At common law, your domicile determined where you were accountable, your home, your permanent place, your intent to remain, the fact of life, not a statute. Currently, right now, since 1938, they run a fusion of law, common law and equity. The land of Illinois, Arizona, and every state was admitted on equal footing. Under the 9th and 10th Amendment, the people have equal footing. And with the original 13 states, all the additional states were on equal footing. There was no residency act for states, counties, or cities. Only citizens and domiciliaries existed. The turning point, 1790 Residency Act. The 1790 Residency Act, it created, it wasn't created by the people. It was created by Congress. Just like a lot of you guys don't know, the Articles of Confederation or the original constitutions, they're created by we the people. When you look at the Constitution out of the District of Columbia or how they operate, that was created by Congress, by legislation. You're not created by Congress or legislation. That's this whole thing here. So the turning point, 1790, Congress passed the Residence Act, creating the federal seat, the District of Columbia. This was the first and only true Residency Act. It implied only to the 10-mile square ceded for the federal capital. From this act forward, the word resident became tied to federal municipal jurisdiction, not natural birthright citizenship. Current, the resident fiction over time, the word resident spread into state statute and administrative codes. 14th Amendment introduced the phrase citizen of the United States. But even when you look up a maritime law or admiralty law, they even tell you in their own words too, when they're dealing with a citizen of the United States, and again, under each statute, they're going to use their own words as terms of art. But in this title, the term citizen of the United States, when used in reference to a natural person, means an individual who's a national of the United States as defined in Section 101A22 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. And it really is 1101A22. Some people cite 21. 21 puts you right back in DC. They tell you right here, this is the state they're talking about. It's a conditional state, not a land state. Now, just like when they talk about residency, domicile, and having an allegiance, right? So under 2, when they're talking about here, though not a citizen of the United States owes permanent allegiance to the United States. So again, here they're talking about United States except as otherwise specifically herein provided. So they ain't talking about the other one. When used in a geographic sense, like the land, it means the continent of the United States, Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Guam, the Virgin Islands of the United States, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. Now, I tell everybody, I free people in every nation. It could be your nation, anybody's nation. But again, a lot of people cite this wrong. They'll cite 21. Before I got the $1 billion of credit, I used to cite 21. I didn't know where I was at. Let's keep going. So again, all this here is relevant. By the late 1800s and 1900s, states began using residency requirements for voting, tuition, welfare, licensing, and taxation. They were bringing you in to the District of Columbia. Currently now, compacts like International Registration Plan, International Fuel Tax Agreement, all the Department of Motor Vehicles are under them. Each one of your DMVs are operating out of the District of Columbia with an IRP, International Registration Plan. There's no way around it. So again, today resident, res plus ident, literally a thing identified, not a living man or woman, but a res tied to an address for administrative control. Now there is a way out. This is all about law of agency, principal and agent. You're the chief principal of your house, of your office. You just have to exit out of their agency. So it's more like a revocation of election, release of the living man, resignation of agent, release of the living man. Closing narration. Once we were only citizens of our states and domiciliaries of our homes. Then Congress passed the Residency Act of 1790 for the District of Columbia. Out of that municipal invention grew the word resident, a statutory fiction copied by states and cities for administration. Today, they try to label every man and woman a resident, but a resident is a res. A resident is a res. It's a thing or a matter. You're more than just a thing or a matter. You're someone. You have life, a thing identified, not a living soul. The way out is simply revoke agency, record your standing, and walk as a citizen of the Union or a national or a native of the land, domiciled on the land, never a resident of DC or its creations. Now we got some other ones too. Memorandum of fact, right? I created one for myself. I can't give you legal advice or tax advice. I'm not an enemy of the state nor trading with the enemy. I just update my life daily to do the best I can to obtain the amount of credit provided to me or on my behalf. So I'll leave you guys tonight. I am not a res. I am not a thing identified. I am not a statutory resident of the District of Columbia. I am a living man, native of Illinois, domiciled upon Arizona soil, confirmed as Jacob Bay, 1993. I appreciate you guys. Closing declaration. So I stand here and declare, or so I sit back tonight or this morning and declare, I am not something. I am not a mere somebody in a registry of a vital statistic, right? I am the one, and so are you. Someone with heart, soul, will to live. For me, I would say a native of Illinois by birth, a citizen there too, a domiciliary of Arizona by choice, and a man immune from the anatomical presumptions under Illinois, Arizona, and the statutes of the District of Columbia. Look it up. There's an immunity clause when they use or anybody has a use of these sources of revenue, including you in each state. Like Colorado, a person that acts in accordance with this part two or with the applicable anatomical gift of another state like Illinois, Arizona, or your state, or attempts in good faith to do so, is not liable for the act in civil action, criminal prosecution, or administrative proceeding. Neither the person making an anatomical gift, like maybe the hospital or the registrar, nor the donor's estate is liable for an injury or damage that results from the making or use of the gift. In determining whether an anatomical gift has been made, amended, or revoked under this part two, a person may rely upon representation of an individual listed in this next section relating to the individual's relationship to the donor or prospective donor unless the person knows that the representative is untrue. And what they're really looking for is just either you or a representation of you or your family to make a will. The definition of a will is competency. You can have a trust. You could be the richest man in the world. But they say if you haven't done this, you're not rich enough. So I appreciate you guys greatly. And my heart does go out to you guys. And I'm expressing myself to you. Peace. I don't think you guys are a resident.